funny and way fucking filthier. Alright. I call this story Heated Mutant Ninja Rivalry. Everyone always assumes they call him the Shredder because of his armor, the sharp steel helmet and the jagged spikes he wears on his broad shoulders. But the truth is those came later. The first blades the Shredder ever wore were on his feet. He was a standout on his boyhood hockey team, the Foot Clan, until his father caught him in a compromising position with a boy from a rival team. Shredder's father decided that no one could know his strong, muscular, dominating boy, preferred the company of other men. He needed more discipline to channel his passion into a fury that would only ever result in combat. He made Shredder give up hockey to train in the art of ninjutsu. Furious about the change, one name pulsed through Shredder's mind, his heart, and his throbbing cock as he channeled his rage. One name passed his lips as he reshaped the Foot Clan into the criminal organization it is today. The one he blamed for ending his hockey career. His teammate, Hamato Yoshi. Orokusaki had not seen the inside of a hockey ring in decades. One night, overwhelmed by a recent fight with the Turtles, he let himself feel what he had long suppressed. He longed for the coolness of the ice and the violence of smashing pucks, and found himself breaking into a local rink that had recently been closed for repairs. Shredder carried his skates as he entered the perimeter around the rink, but stopped in his tracks as he spotted a figure already on the ice. He hadn't really seen him since they were boys, and of course, there was the incident with the mutagen since then. His hairy, rodent-like features were evident even from a distance, but it was unmistakably him, Hamato Yoshi. Splinter. Shredder felt his heart pounding in his chest, hyperventilating at the thought of being alone in this place with his rival, his first love. He retreated back into the locker room to try and regain his composure, but he found himself enraged at Splinter's presence in the only place he felt he could truly be himself. Splinter had taken this from him once already, and he couldn't have it again. Anger coursed through him. His body throbbed, every muscle taut with a mix of rage and desire. He pulled off his shirt, hoping that exposing his chest to the air would cool down the fire that was building inside of him. He needed to feel less contained, less aroused, but all his blood rushed to his ever-growing cock. He flung a skate across the locker room, furious that his body still reacted to Splinter this way. He crossed the room determined to do more damage and let out a loud, guttural shriek as he ripped a sink off the wall. But that didn't help either. He couldn't take it anymore. He pulled out his cock, closing his eyes and stroking himself desperately. Almost done, Splinter ashed casually in the door of the locker room. The cadence of a man who had caught his 4 teenage sons masturbating way too many times. Shredder froze. Splinter smirked and crossed the room, not stopping until his body was inches from Shredder. "Get out of here, Yoshi," Shredder said, with all the authority he could muster. He towered over Splinter, doing his best to intimidate his rival into leaving, but his dick twitched as he felt the heat radiating off of Splinter's body onto his own. Splinter lifted himself onto his toes, resting a long-fingered paw lightly on Shredder's chest. He let his whiskers graze Shredder's ear as he whispered, "You don't really want me to leave?" Splinter raised his hands to remove Shredder's helmet. "No, the helmet stays on," Shredder insisted. "Okay, fine, I'll leave the helmet on," Splinter said sarcastically, as his hands made his way to the waistband of Shredder's gray sweatpants and greedily pulled them down. Shredder tried to resist, but his rage was gone now, replaced with something equally primal and urgent. Without thinking, he wrapped his huge hands around Splinter's waist, pulling his hairy rodent body closer. He kissed his rival with a passion he hadn't felt in years. "You taste like pizza," Shredder said, as he pulled off Splinter's tattered robe. This new form suited him, Shredder thought, as he explored Splinter's lean, tight muscles, careful not to cut him with his armor. "Shave me," Splinter breathed. Shredder obliged, running the blades of his forearm down the lowest part of Splinter's abs, and then carefully around his now erect, spiny rat dick, until the entire area was smooth and soft. Satisfied with the job he did in front, his hands reached around to Splinter's ass. Shredder gasped. He'd nearly forgotten that Hamato Yoshi now had a tail. Splinter swung his tail around their bodies and landed between them. He brought it up to Shredder's hungry mouth. Shredder's eyes were soft now, submissive. He opened his mouth, taking the first 9 inches of Splinter's tail in and sucking it greedily. Shredder could feel Splinter's boned dick against his thigh and reached down to touch it, but Splinter stopped him, pulling his wet tail out of Shredder's mouth and taking a step back. Splinter, Shredder gasped desperately. No, Splinter commanded. On your knees. Shredder lowered his eyes. Yes, Master Splinter, he whispered. Good boy, Splinter breathed, as he wrapped his tail around Shredder's hips. His tail was still wet from Shredder's mouth. This would be the only lubrication either of them would need, which is exactly how gay sex works. The tail slid easily into Shredder's asshole, and he let out a moan. Splinter pumped his tail into Shredder's asshole as Shredder's mouth went to work on his cock. Shredder rather liked how spiny it was, like it was made just for him. Splinter's tail pounding soon became too much for Shredder to take, and his ooze erupted from his angry cock in a sticky puddle at Splinter's furry paws. His orgasm, like himself, was too intense, too violent, and too confrontational. He tried to pull away from Splinter's mouth fucking, but Splinter held his head in place as his own orgasm filled Shredder's mouth, gagging him and muffling the animalistic sounds he needed to make. Spent, the rivals collapsed to the floor in a sweaty heap. Master Splinter, a voice called out from just outside the locker room door. Be right there, my son, Splinter called out casually as he scurried back into his robe. This isn't over, Yoshi, Shredder said, angry in his voice. But in true ninja fashion, as fast as he came, Splinter was already gone.